8 kids who remembered their past life. 8. The boy who is his own grandfather. This young man says he is his grandfather's reincarnation. Gus Taylor's grandfather had gone away a year before. When the child was 18 months old, he began referring to himself as his own grandfather, Grandpa Augie. He had never even seen his grandpa before he was 4, yet he could identify him in pictures. Gus also discussed his sister frequently. Now, the grandfather's sister had been executed and they always kept that from Gus. However, he seemed to already be aware of this fact and would frequently bring up his late sister. 7. Cameron Macaulay. When Cameron was 2 years old, he frequently claimed to have a second existence on the isolated island of Barra. Cameron was originally from Glasgow, although Barra is 220 miles away and is reached after an hour-long flight. Cameron didn't stop talking about his family and Barra for 3 years. He claimed to have siblings, and even a black and white sheepdog. He claimed to have memories of living in a white house close to the beach and seeing planes landing there. He can even recall the scene from the window of his home. Cameron started to miss his family so much that he would get unhappy all the time. That's when they ended up going to Barra to find his home. When they eventually located his house, it featured the identical vista that Cameron had described and, reportedly, even housed the same dog. Also, Cameron claimed that he had a father named Shane Robertson who had died after being struck by a car. 6. Shanti Devi. Shanti Devi was born in 1926 in India. When she was just 4 years old, she began speculating about her real name, her other family, and her previous life. Evidently, she informed her parents that she and her husband Kedarnath resided 145 kilometers away in a region known as Missouri. Along with that, she said that she died soon after giving birth to her child. She even appeared to have the same speaking style as in a third. The guy she claimed to be her husband was eventually located in the other village, where she was taken by her family. He then revealed to them that he had indeed lost his wife 9 years prior, 10 days after she had given birth to their son. 5. James Leininger. James was born in 1998. When he was 2, he identified himself as a lieutenant and perished when his aircraft was shot down. They simply dismissed it, as any other parent would, by claiming that he had a vivid imagination. But after that, he persisted in providing precise details. They discovered that an American pilot named Lieutenant James Houston Jr., who died in 1945 near the close of World War II, was involved in this plane crash. He also had recurrent nightmares of an aviation disaster, the youngster said as he talked about his ship, the Nadoma, which was also genuine. The crew of Lieutenant James, who were now all elderly, then visited with his parents. They did, however, attest to the accuracy of the information James had provided, indicating that only the crew and the lieutenant might have been aware of some of it. 4. Edward Austrian. When Edward Austrian first asserted his identity as a World War I veteran, he was only 4 years old. He insisted repeatedly that a shot to the throat caused his death. In fact, Edward frequently complained of sore throats and the pain in his shooting wound. He even developed a cyst in his throat, which doctors were unable to diagnose as to why he kept getting sore throats. Edward began to delve deeper into his earlier years. He asserts that he was James, an 18-year-old soldier. He would share his family with his vivid memories of his previous existence. 3. The daughter who just wants to go home. According to her mother, when her daughter was a little child, she would often say her mother to take her home. She told her that she used to live close to the water with her other family when she was asked where her house was. That was until one day she passed away. She would even do drawings of her former home and recount stories about her time spent watching the waves. She also mentions her mother's paw and expresses a desire to return home. 2. The Boy in the Scottish Pub. Just like the title suggests, This story takes place in a pub in Scotland. This story takes place in a pub in Scotland when a 4-year-old and his family stopped at a pub in a small village in Carrick-Gorhams. The young boy remarked, "My favorite spot," after quickly recognizing the pub. The child was able to point his father in the direction of the pub's restroom, which was rumored to be concealed behind a wall and not even signposted. However, there was no fireplace, yet, the youngster insisted that there once was one up against a particular wall. 1. The Russian kindergartner. A young woman who was once Russian. Her mother alleges that her daughter consistently mixed up her letters as she was learning the alphabet. She would jumble up her B's, verses, H's, and endings. These letters are not very similar to one another. She was perplexed, as was her teacher. Particularly considering how often her daughter remarked, "I don't recall those." The young girl then says that she can recall the letter H making a N sound. She then proceeded to write down the Russian alphabet after claiming that she knew more letters. When her mother questioned her about where she learned that, she replied, "Vlad taught me before he vanished." This young child claimed that Vlad was her brother.